Hi and welcome back to this free Cyberpanel tutorial for beginners. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to deploy our server, and I will start by deploying one server which is for the Windows tutorial, because I first of all want to do a tutorial for the Windows guys. And if you're following along with me on a Windows computer, you're going to see how you can log in using Putty, set up SSH, and then after that I'm going to do the Linux tutorial for the Linux guys and the Mac guys using Terminal. But first I'm going to start with Windows. So in this video, let's deploy our server. And if you don't have an account, go ahead and use the affiliate link in the description below. You will get $100 credit. I hope the offer is still available. So just check out and see if it is still available. I will log into my account. So I'll just click there to deploy an instance. We need to choose a server type. You can choose cloud compute or high frequency, but I suggest that you start with cloud compute, because first of all, I would advise you to just follow along with me, set up the server just as a sample, install Cyberpanel, run an actual website, change the DNS settings just to test Cyberpanel to see how it works. And once you get a hang of it and you've followed with me throughout, you can delete the server that we're creating now, and then you can start a fresh server that you can actually use on your production. Okay, so first of all, just follow along with me. So what's the difference between cloud compute and high frequency? Cloud compute is just the same as this, but this has a higher power than this, but it's just slightly higher power, but you can still use this. Most people actually use this and the performance is still great. But if on a production, if you want better performance, you can try this one. So I'm going to choose cloud compute. You can choose a region, Seattle, or let me choose, where is Chicago? I can choose Chicago. So if you want to know how to choose your location, so let's just take this small detour to see how you can choose a location for yourself. So if you come here under features, data center locations, you can test different locations just to see which location will give you the fastest speeds. So it's important for you to know whether you want to base the speed off of where you are or off of where your visitors are. So if you're in the same place as your visitors, you can just test different regions to see which region has better performance for you. So if I come here, I can test Miami just to see the speeds that I will get based off of where I am. So you can also test based off of where your visitors are. So where your visitors are, if you're not in the same location, you can just use a VPN. So if you're not in the same location as your intended website visitors, you can use a VPN to emulate their location and then come here and test. So let's say I want to test Miami. You can test different locations here. So let's say I want to test Miami. I can just click on that IP address and then just run the test with the default setting here. And you can see that this is the amount of time it takes for everything to happen for me, 94 milliseconds. So if I want to test a different region, let me just refresh the page. Maybe I want to test Atlanta. So I will select this. I will click there to select that IP, and then I will run the test. So you can see this one is much higher, so it's not a good location for me. And let me try to reload again, and this time around let me test Seattle, and then I will click the link. I will click this IP address and then run the test again. And you can see that this is giving me a much better result than all the others. So this is a better location for me. Okay, so just do something similar to find the best location for you. The lower the time, the better for you. Okay, so you've seen how you can select a region. So for me, I'm just going to test Chicago because it's for demonstration purposes. And then throughout this tutorial, of course, we want to use Centos 8 to install Cyberpanel. So you can also use Centos 7, which is more stable with most applications right now. It's more stable with more applications than Centos 8. Most applications currently support Centos 7. So we're going to choose Centos 8. And server size, let's choose $5 monthly. And let's just check all these features. We want that, and we want that as well. You can also enable automatic backups if that's something you want. We don't have any startup scripts to be run with our server, and we don't have SSH keys. We're going to set up SSH keys later on. And then server hostname and label. Give this server a name that is, give it a name of a domain name. Give it a fully qualified domain name, and this will enable you to send mail. If you don't use a fully qualified domain name here, you're going to have a problem sending mail. So this is just a sample. So I will use a sample of this with bizanosa.com. But this is not our final server. I'll actually delete this and create another one once I'm done with this Windows part. So there you go, $5. Just confirm that everything is as you selected. And then we're going to deploy the server. So the server is currently being installed, being set up for us. If we click on it, you can see the IP address that we've been given, the password. So just give it some time. There you go. We've been given an IP. We've been given a password, user, root. We're going to disable root user at some point, and we're also going to disable password login at some point, which is a good security feature that you need to have on your server. So in this video, you've seen how you can set up, how you can deploy your server. And if you're on Windows, the next video is for you. I will show you how you can log into your server using Putty. We're going to download Putty, install Putty, and see how you can log into your server. I will see you in the next video. So in the last video, I did deploy a server. And in this video, if you're using Windows, let's see how you can log into your server using Putty. So Putty is what you're going to use to SSH into your server and then set it up. Everything you're going to do on your server, you're going to use Putty. Let's go to Google and we're going to search for Putty. Just Google Putty. And just click here, download Putty from putty.org. And we want to download Putty. So I will click here where it says download Putty, and make sure you're downloading it. You're downloading it from this website. And I'm going to choose this because this has everything we need. And we need Putty, and we also need PuttyGen. So PuttyGen is what we're going to use. This one here, PuttyGen is what we're going to use to generate SSH keys in the upcoming videos. So let's download this. I will save. Let me open the location where it was downloaded, and this is where it was. I can just double click on it. I know I already have a version installed, and this is probably a much later version. So let me run and see what's going to happen next. So it's already installed on my computer, but I'll just click on repair and then finish. All right, so we have Putty installed. So the next thing, let's see how we can log into the server. So I will go and open up Putty. Let me search for Putty. And I need my IP address. So coming back here, just click there to copy your IP address to log in via Putty. Here under hostname, put that, and the port is default 22, and make sure that is SSH. And of course, we want to save it so that you don't have to type in the IP address every single time. So let's just call this new Windows. So once you give it a name, click here to save. And the next time, if we close Putty and we come back and open Putty, we can just double click on it and it will open up our server for us. Okay, so it's telling us that this is a new server and we don't recognize it, but you know this is a server we just created, so it can't be anything malicious. So I'll just click yes, and then log in as root. For now, the only user we have is root, so we're going to log in as root. Enter. It's going to ask you for the root password. then copy the password, and let's go back into Putty. Once you copy the password, now if you want to paste into Putty on Windows, I think normally, since I can't see the password, I'll just do by trial and error. And now I'm just going to click on the right button of my mouse to see if that has pasted it in. Enter. And yes, so if you want to paste into Putty, you can paste in using the right click on your keyboard, that will paste in. And if you want to copy, just select everything and then left click, that will copy, and you can right click and it will paste in the items in there. So in this video, you've seen how you can log into your server using Putty. So since we're on CentOS 8, let's just update it before we do anything else. So let's do DNF update to make sure we update our server. So DNF update, this will update the server. It will check all the links to make sure that we have updates, and then it's going to download and install the updates. And if we add -y, this is going to ensure that it doesn't ask us if we want to actually install the updates. This will bypass that and it will automatically install any updates which are there. So let's just check if the updates. Okay, so the update is complete. So I don't like the font, it's too tiny and I'll have to zoom in. So I'm going to change the font for this, just for demonstration, to make demonstration easier for me. And if I come here under appearance, I can change the font, and let me use this. It looks like a nice font, and I will use 16, font size of 16. Click OK, apply. And this is much easier for demonstration purposes. So that's pretty much it for this video. In this video, you've seen how you can log into your new server using Putty. So the next step is for us to create a new user, and we're going to do that in the next video. We're going to create a new Sudo user, and then we are going to set up SSH for that user so that they can only log in using SSH keys. And we're going to do this using Putty and PuttyGen. So that's a good security feature. And then we're going to disable root login, and we're going to disable password login, and that will be the end of this part with Windows, and then we can do a demonstration for Linux. So in this video, we're going to add a user with sudo privileges on CentOS 8. If you're on a production server, you should always avoid using root, and therefore you're going to need to create a new user, and then you're going to give this user sudo privileges so that they can run root commands. At some point, we're also going to disable the root user from logging in, and we're also going to disable login via password. But for now, let us create a new user and then add the sudo privileges to that user. You can find all the commands for this if you come to bizanosa.com. You can search for CentOS 8, add new user, and you can click on the results for this, or you can just go into the description below and click on this. Click on the link that will bring you to this, and you can follow along with all these commands here. First things first, let's log into Putty. And we already have the server saved here. So I'm just going to double click on it. And then I will log in as root. And I will come back here to get the password. I will copy the password from there. And then right click to paste into Putty. So when you're pasting passwords or typing your password, you won't be able to see it. I'll press enter. And you can follow along with this just to see how to do it. So let me add a new user. So I will add the new user. And then let's change the password for the new user. So input a strong password, use mixtures of alphanumerics, capitals, and special characters. Retype the password. All right, so the new user has been created. The next step is to add them into the wheel group so that they can have the sudo privileges. So if you come here, you can just copy that from here, and it will be added for them. So let me just copy this. I don't want to type. Copy, and then I will put that here. So on Putty, I can just right click to paste user mod AG and the name of the user. So then the good thing about Putty, I can select that, and then once I select it, I can just right click and it will get pasted for me there, and then I'll press enter. All right, so as soon as I do this, now this user can use sudo privileges. So let's just test that, and we can test that by switching to the new user, and we do that using su. Now we are logged in as the new user. We've just switched to the new user. Let's see if we can use sudo. We can use the sudo command. And the first time you use sudo, you're going to need to type in your password. So type in the password for the user, and this is the user that you created. All right, so you can see our server is up to date, and we did not receive any error telling us that, oh, you don't have the privilege, you're not in the sudoers list. So if that works for you, then you know now you are a sudo user and you can run all commands as root instead of using the root user. So in the next video, we're going to see how to set up SSH keys so that you can log in via SSH, and that will improve our security. And then after that, we're going to disable the root login and the password logins. So in this video, you've seen how to create a new user and add them to the sudo group. I showed you how to add a new user with sudo privileges, and we were using Putty. So in this video, let's see how we can set up SSH keys to log into our server. That will improve security for our server, especially once we disable root login and we also disable password login. So this video is intended for you if you're a Windows user and you want to use Putty for managing your server. I did something like that a while back for Centos 7, and I'm going to use the same steps that I used for Centos 7 for my Centos 8 server. So I'm just going to search for that here, and I can search for Centos 7, and I know the article when I see it. Yeah, this is the one, Vultr tutorial. So I'm going to scroll all the way down here. Okay, so we are from here. We want to add SSH keys. From where it says that you're going to add SSH keys. So we need to open PuttyGen. So you saw me install Putty, and we downloaded Putty and installed Putty, which has everything we need. Okay, so if you didn't watch that video, go back a step and then watch that video. So in this video, let's generate our SSH keys and start using them. So to generate your SSH keys, you're going to need to open PuttyGen. What you need is a private key and a public key. The private key will be on your computer, and that's the one you're going to use to log in via Putty. And then the public key, we're going to add that to our server, and then once it is on our server, we can use the private key on our computer to log in with that. All right, and you're going to see how to do all that in this video. So let's go ahead and generate our public and private key. So let me search for PuttyGen, and just come and open PuttyGen. So let's generate a key. Let's click on generate, and you can just play around with your mouse to generate the key on your computer like I did. And of course, you want to make sure you add a key phrase. So this means that if somebody gets your private key, they will not be able to use it to log into your server without knowing the private key that you use here. So make sure you add a key phrase. This is like a password for your private key. This is also very important. Make sure you add this for the security, and I'm going to add one as well. confirm the passphrase. And as soon as you do that, you can save your public and private key. Okay, so as for the public key, this is our public key. I'm not going to do anything like saving it. I'm just going to leave it there, but I can save it. I can save it as well. But let me just save the private key first. This is the one that's more important now. So I'm going to save, and I can save it. I can save it here on my desktop. So let me just do Ctrl+Shift+N to create a new folder. And I can call this new server. And then give your private key a name. Something that at least, even if you have many keys, you can recognize this key and know it is for which server. So for this, I'm going to call it Cyberpanel Windows. Just save. Now your private key is saved. So the next step is for us to add this public key. So if I click in there, I can copy the entire thing, but we're going to come to that. Let's see if you're still logged in on Putty. So from the last video, we were logged in. Let's see if you're still logged in. I'll just do clear. I will do clear to clear the screen. I will come back onto my browser here. So I've generated the key, I've saved the key. What I need to do now is to, you can also save the key. Just copy the key and save it in a notepad or notepad++ file, .txt file. You can copy that and save that in as your public key, I mean. And now the next thing I want to do here is, let's log in. We already logged into the server. So I just need to make this directory. I don't know if this directory is in our server. So before I continue with all this, I need to log out. I need to log out of my server, because from now on, everything you do, you're going to need to do with the new user that you've created. You're not going to do it with root. So let me just log out completely, and then I'm going to log in again. So let me just do exit to log out. And then I will do exit again to log out of root. And let me open Putty once again, and we're going to log in using the new user that we created. So I'll open up Putty. And just put that somewhere there. And this is a server we're working with. Now we want to log in as new user 2020. Enter the password. All right. So from now on, everything we do, we are going to use this user. So we can just see, we can just check if this file already exists, or do we need to create it? This one, SSH. Does this directory exist? Okay, I don't see the SSH anywhere here. So I have to create it. So let me create this one, sudo. Yeah. Copy. So now if we do the above command, we should see SSH, the folder has now been added. And then we're going to do nano. We're going to use nano to edit the authorized key inside here. So it doesn't exist, but it's going to get created when we run this. then I will paste in that, enter. And now we are editing using Nano. Nano is an editor that you can use inside of your Linux, inside of the Linux environment. So what I need to copy is this. Let's go back in there. In Putty, you drag it here, and I will put my cursor at the very first character there, before the very first character, and then I will scroll all the way down to the last bit of this character, and then I will copy, select, click on the last end here to select the entire thing, and then I will come back into Putty and I will paste this in here. So remember, in Putty, if you want to paste, you just do right click and it's going to paste it. Okay, if you are using Putty on Ubuntu on Linux, I don't know whether you are able to paste anything. All right, so once we've pasted in our public key, this is our public key, we're going to do Control X, and then Y to accept the changes we've made to this file, and then enter, and that's it. So we've added our public key there. Now the next thing we need to change the permissions for that. Okay, change. This is going to modify the permissions for this and the permissions for this. So I want to do this in one line. So I'm going to copy this, and I want to run both of them in one line. I'm just going to copy and paste that, and then I will do 2 ampersands. So this is something you can do to join to even multiple commands on Linux. You just do 2 ampersands and it's going to combine. And then I will copy this one as well, paste, and then enter. All right, now permissions for these have been changed. Now the next thing is, let me change the ownership for the new user that I've created. So for this, I need to probably put it somewhere else so that I can edit these things. I don't want to type on Putty. I can come here, I will copy this. So to copy anything on Putty, just select it and then do left click. So I'm going to paste. So change this with the user that you created in the last video. So I will paste that in there by right clicking and then enter. And now we are done. So we are ready to log in. So to log into your server, just open up Putty once again. So for me, I'm just going to close this and then open Putty. So now this is how to log in on Putty using your SSH. Let me just leave that there. Maybe there's some errors. Let me log in using SSH. Now I'm going to load this. Okay, just load it. Don't do anything else. Just load it. And then let's come down to SSH. And then here under auth, you need to select the private key. Okay, so the key was saved under desktop, and then it was under a new folder. What was the name of the folder? New server. And then this is our private key. So I'm going to double click on it, and I don't want to always do that every time I want to log into my server. So what I'll do is I'll save this. I will go back into sessions, and I already have this loaded. So I'm just going to click here to save it. Okay. And once I do that, I can open, and it will ask me to log in as the SSH key was not added for root. we need to log in as the user we created, and for me it was new user 2020. Enter, and then the passphrase, you remember the passphrase, use that here. So this is a passphrase that you created. That is a passphrase that you created here on Putty. So you can see everything has been successful. So I can just go ahead and close that. So you can see that you have set up SSH on your server, and now you can log in via SSH. So the next thing that you're going to do to end this section for Windows is I'm going to log in again via Putty, and then I'm going to remove root. I'm going to remove the root login. I'm going to disallow root login. I'm also going to disallow login via passwords on my server. So if you want to log in, you must have my private key. Okay, so that is pretty much everything that we are going to cover on this section for the Windows guys. After that, I'm going to start doing tutorials for Linux on Ubuntu, and then after that we can all start installing Cyberpanel. So let's just see if our sudo is working fine, and I can do that by testing if I can update the server. Sudo update. And add the password for this user. All right, so everything is working fine. So let me just go ahead and log out, and we're going to log in once again in the next video. So in this video, you've seen how to set up SSH on your Centos 8, and I followed the same guide that I used on my Centos 7 tutorial. I will see you in the next video when we disable root login. So I think that is also here. So that is here. We are going to log in, and then we are going to remove password authentication and root login so that people don't log into our server. So I'll see you in the next video when we continue from here. In this video, we are going to disallow root login, and we're also going to disable password authentication, and we're also going to configure the time zone so that it is in line with where we are. So let me log in on Putty. And you remember how to log in. Once you save any session, you can just double click on it, and then we are going to log in as the user that you created. And then add the passphrase that you used for your private key. Okay. The next thing that we want to do is we want to go into this file, edit it so that you can disable root login. We need to disable some things on that file for security reasons. So I will paste that in, and on Putty you can just paste by right clicking, and you need to enter the password for your user because you're using sudo. So on this file, we need to edit certain things, and let me just copy them from here because I don't want to search. So I will copy that, permit root login, and then I will come back here and I will do Control W, and then since I'm on Putty, I can just right click to paste in that, and then I'll press enter to search for this. And right now you can see root login is allowed. We want to disable root login. So I will just scroll all the way, and then I will type no and remove yes. So make sure it is like that, make it no. And then the next thing that we want to remove is password authentication. So I will copy that as well, and then I will come back into Putty, and then I will do Control W again, and then I will right click and then enter, and you can see password authentication is on. Let's go and make it no. And that's pretty much it. There are also certain things you can change here. That's all we wanted to do, and that is all that is recommended here. That's all that the minimum that I'm recommending here for you to change. Don't change anything else unless you know what it is. So once you make those changes, let us do Control X and then Y to accept the changes. Then type enter, and then we need to restart SSHD. So we need to restart SSH. So I will restart SSH with that. Reload SSH, paste, enter, and that's it. So right now what I can do is I can try to log in using root, and you're going to see I will not be allowed. I will also try to log in via password. Of course that will be impossible to do, log in via password, but let's just exit. Let me just come here and I will say new session. You can start a new session of Putty like that if you want to test your login. So you see I changed some things that are very crucial here, and let me just make sure that everything is working well before I close or log out of this. So I will come in and open a new session, and I want to log in as, first of all, let's try to log in as root, and we'll see that it brings an error. So you see the server refused, and that is good. Let's try once again and new session, and I will just double click. Let's do new user 2020. All right, so the video is getting longer than I would love for it to be, so I'm going to end the video here. But just as a summary, in this video you've seen how to disable password authentication, and you've also seen how you can disable root login, so the root user cannot log into our server. So that every Linux user, every Linux system has a root user, and therefore it is a high security risk because everyone in the world knows that there's a user by the name of root on your server. So if they can guess the password, they can get into your server. And another feature you've helped your server with is disabling password authentication. So even if somebody knows the root user, they can try to log in with the password, but they won't be allowed to log into your server without the SSH key that you set up. So that is a very important feature for your server. In the next video, we're going to see how to configure the date so that our server will be showing the correct time location. In this video, let's see how to change the time zone for your server. To change that, you'll just need this, and you can change this last ones. Maybe you're in Europe, London, you can change this to Europe and then that to London. Maybe you're in Africa, you can change that Africa, Nairobi, or Africa, wherever you are, whether it's in Lagos, you can change it to wherever. So in this video, let's see how to do that. And first of all, let's log into our server. So let me check the current date that has been set for this. And the date it's saying it's that. So let's say I change it to, let me copy this and I put this in, I put this here so that I can change that. So just change this to the continent. Change this to the continent where you are, plus a city that is in your country. And I'll come back to my server. I will paste that in there. And if I check the new date, you can see it has changed. If you want to change it to something else, maybe you're in London, you can change that to Europe. London. you copy that, bring it, and then confirm the date. Okay, the issue is I have not left any space here. All right, so let us do this again, and I will paste, enter, and when I do date, you can see the location has been changed. So let's say maybe you're in Australia. I hope that is the spelling for Canberra. Let's copy and enter, check the time, and you'll see it will change based on what you put here. So just do this and you're going to change your server to your local time. So that's it for this section about Windows. So everything else that we're going to do will be in tandem with any platform. So we've seen how you can set up your server. If you're on Windows, you've used Putty and PuttyGen to set up your SSH. The next part, after I'm done with the Linux section, will be about installing Cyberpanel. And once we install Cyberpanel, you will see how to set up your website. You'll see how to add a website and how to change DNS settings on Cloudflare, because I do intend to use Cloudflare for all the DNS settings, because I don't want to deal with child DNS, child name servers. You can also use child name servers to use your own website as your own domain, as your own DNS, your own name servers, right? Like if my website is bizanosa.com, I could use ns1.bizanosa.com as my name servers, but I don't want to do that. I just want to use Cloudflare, and I'm going to show you how to do that. But if you're interested in the other one, that's something you can do as well. So that's it for this part for the Windows guys. So I don't think I need this server for anything. So I'm going to destroy the server. If I come here, I can destroy this server. Just click on server destroy, confirm that you want to destroy the server, and then destroy the server, and it will be gone. So that's all I wanted to do in this part for anyone using Windows. I will see you next time in the next video. See you then.